Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I have a book haul to share with you. I know some of that my viewers prefer what I am choosing to read over reviews of what I have read. Some people don't like the reviews, but they have enjoyed the books that I have chosen to read and get ideas from it. So with that in mind, I decided to go ahead and make this video. I think some of these are pretty well-known books, so I'm not sure exactly what new thing you'll learn about, but let's just kind of jump in. Share your thoughts down below. I always encourage that. So the first book I want to share with you that I picked up is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I'm not even sure how to say that, but lot of discussions over this book, lots of 5-star reviews from people that I generally agree with or value their opinion in books. And a friend has just really wanted to talk about this with somebody, and I was like, okay, there's my, all right, I will purchase this book and jump right on in with that. We went to a thrift store when we went to the big city not too long ago, and I found For Women Only and For Men Only, which has actually been in my Amazon cart to get to do with the kids, and the cheapest ones I have found are about $8 a piece, and I got these for $1 a piece. So good savings there. I had to do these in high school for my homeschool curriculum. I had to do For Women Only, and I kind of wanted to reread them before kind of going over it with my high school students, which are not my children. I picked these up for my high school students, so I actually help educate my youngest sister as well as another young man in my life. So I wanted to go through these again before I gave those to them. I really remember a lot from For Women Only, which says a lot because you just read so many books, but it had made that much of an impact on me. The other thing I picked up is Sue Monk Kidd, The Secret Life of Bees, and I know we had started the movie of it. I was told it was a great family-friendly movie, and not knowing what we were getting into when we started the movie and just realized where it was going, we turned it off and apologized to kids. I was like, I don't know where this is going, but there was some really hard topics that so we're gonna try. Let's see, it has been at least 4 years since we tried that. It feels like it's been that much at least. I think my youngest was a baby. Anyway, all that to say, I wanted to give the story a try, the book a try. I've just heard so much about that. And then I found a copy of The Wave, which I did a review on. I absolutely love this book. This is a classroom experiment that went too far, and it's about a teacher that basically proved a point of how the Nazi regiment, how Hitler was able to create this Nazi movement, and people just follow him along. And the classroom experiment goes too far. And I require my high school students to read this. I also recently read The Outsiders, and I will probably require my high school students to read that as well. But high school, you've got 4 years. I'm not going to pack everything in 1 year. I think if I can balance something out, stuff like The Wave, The Outsiders, and a couple other books that I'm looking into, I think if I just schedule one a year, we can hit some hard topics without feeling oppressed by those hard topics, like really heavy, and because they're still kids and they're still figuring out the world. That's my idea. Help them mature, but still understand that there's so much going on in their lives that they still need the respect of kind of growing up and all that. I did find a copy of Ben-Hur by Bruce Wallace, I think.
Wallace and Bruce.
Right. Actually, I want to. It was Reverend somebody's Lew Wallace. And I think that my almost 12-year-old son would really like Ben-Hur, which kind of tells about the chariot and all of that. Now, my sisters came up for a visit a couple weeks ago, and my one sister is a avid Christian fiction reader, and so she left behind 2 books for me to read. And actually I think brought one. I love Julie Clausen. Some of her books I love more than others. I am very behind on all of her books just because I haven't been purchasing them as much, but this one is The Bridge to Belle Island, and I can't wait to read it. Lady of Milkweed Manor was probably like my reintroduction into Christian fiction and falling in love with it all over again after kind of what I call a breakup when the formula just became that. Like all the books were just following the same old formula, and I just needed a break from that. So Julie Clausen actually kind of brought me back into the love of Christian fiction, and then it's just been a few years. But another Christian fiction author I absolutely love is Denise Hunter. I don't think I've read any of hers that I was just like, meh, it was okay. I either love it or I'm just like, oh, she could have done so much better. And so I'm really looking forward to Sweetbriar Cottage. It has all the elements that I think I'm really gonna love. Some of the other ones that I picked up, these are children's, and I've heard so much about When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit. And this one fell apart all over the car, so really bummed about that. If I was to base picking this, if I hadn't seen this cover, I don't know that I would have ever picked this book up, because I have seen the movie trailers and I have no interest in seeing this movie. And I'm really kind of bummed about that, because it almost seems that Nazism is dumbed down, for lack of a better word, and I just had no interest based on the trailers. So I'm curious to see how the book presents my opinions without seeing it. So I have had this book before and I got rid of it. It just sounded like it danced a horror line. But this author I have fallen madly in love with this year. I read so many of her books in middle grade March, and I wanted to read everything she wrote. And so I picked up The Pictures of Hollis Woods. I can't even tell you anything about it. There's no description in the back. I remember having it and it sounding very horror sounding, and I don't like it. I don't like horror. I especially don't think horror for children is a good idea. But again, I have loved everything that this author has done so far, so I kind of want to see what she does with this and if it really is horror. In my quest to read all of the Newbery Honors and whatnot, I found Lilun, Lad of Courage by Carolyn Treffinger, and I just picked it up. This is one that I've also had in my Amazon cart to read forever, so that was pretty neat. This is by Susan LaFleur, Listening for Luca. She wrote a book that I also reviewed in middle grade March that I absolutely loved. If the author is the same one that I'm thinking of, and that is A World of Blue, or The Blue World, and its sequel. And it basically was kind of a reimagining of World War II through these children's perspectives, and it was so beautiful. It was so well done. So when I saw this and I recognized the author, and I'm pretty sure this is the same author, I needed to read what else she wrote. The Devil in the Arithmetic. Again, another one that I have heard many things about, but have yet to read. But it's how a Jewish boy is saved through his brilliant mind. And of course, that's something that the Nazis couldn't stand, but also were intrigued by. So I'm curious to see how this goes. So again, just something I'm really looking forward to. And this is Jacqueline Woodson, who I believe did Brown Girl Dreaming. Anyway, this one tells the story, and this isn't free verse. Okay, that was the other thing. This wasn't free verse, and it seems like some of these are just really going towards free verse, and I have a really hard time with free verse, so I I'm going to hold on to all these letters, and when we're living together again, they're going to be the first present I give you. That to me was like, it tugged every heartstring in my body. And I just, at that point, I don't even know if I read the rest of this until after I got home. But I wanted to read it just from that. 12-year-old Lonnie is finally starting to feel at home with his foster family, but he still is apart from his little sister Lily, so he decides it's his job to be the rememberer and write down everything that happens while they're growing up. Lottie's reflections in his letters to Lily are bittersweet. He's happy that they both have good foster families, but while his new family brings him joy, it also brings him new worries. With a foster brother in the Army, concepts like peace have new meaning for Lonnie. Told solely through letters from Lonnie to Lily, this thought-provoking companion to Jacqueline Woodson's National Book Award finalist Locomotive tackles important issues in captivating lyrical language. Lonnie's reflections on family, love, loss, and peace will strike a note with readers of all ages. So I guess it would be a good idea to see if I can get Locomotive. But it almost sounds like it could be a standalone as well. So, yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Yes, Emma?
Can you off it because I accidentally turned off and I was trying to draw something. Thank you.
Okay. At the local bookstore, if you basically snap a picture and share it on social media, tagging them, basically saying that you're here and you love them and you recommend them, you can choose a book off the shelf, and these are books that are like ARC reviews. And so this one is The Voting Booth by Brandee Kolbert. And Marva Sheridan was born ready for this day. She's been driven to make a difference in the world, and what better way than to vote in her first election? Duke Crenshaw is so done with this election. He just wants to get voting over with so he can prepare for his man's first paying gig tonight. Only problem, Duke can't vote. When Marva sees Duke turned away from their polling place, she takes it upon herself to make sure his vote is counted. She hasn't spent months doorbelling and registering voters just to see someone denied their right. And that's how this whirlwind day begins, rushing from precinct to precinct, cutting school, waiting in endless lines, turned away time and again, trying to do one simple thing, vote. They may have started out as strangers, but as Duke and Marva team up to beat a rigged system and find Marva's missing cat, it's clear that there is more to their connection than shared mission for democracy. Romantic and triumphant, the voting booth is proof you can't sit around waiting for the world to change. But some things are meant to be. So I was really intrigued by this, and the the sales lady was talking about how this was really good and kind of presented some interesting scenarios that were very reflective. So I thought that was interesting. I had this in my cart for a while, and I don't remember what made me just choose it. I almost think that the price dropped below 50%, and so in my cart you can see like price changes or messages if a price is increased or decreased, and I think this one like dropped 50%, and so I'm guessing because of all the current events. And so this is like, you know, this is one that I really did want to read, and so I picked it up. This is Letters to a Black Boy on Identity and Hope. In Mother to Son, Jasmine Holmes shares a series of powerful letters to her young son. These are about her journey as an African-American Christian and what she wants her son to know as he grows and approaches the world as a black man. Holmes deals head-on with issues ranging from discipleship and marriage to biblical justice. She invites us to read over her shoulders as she reminds Wind that his identity is firmly planted in the person and work of Jesus Christ, even when the topic is one as emotionally charged as race in America. I thought that would just be a really, really good book. Part of me thinks that a friend of mine who has adopted a black kid mentioned something about this, but I can't be sure. This is another one that I found. It was used, but it had like a brand new coverlet over it. So somebody bought it, or it was gifted to somebody, and then they got rid of it. So it had like this, I think it's a Target thing over it. And when I took it off, I had a double take because of the I don't know. Like, that is not necessarily the cover I would have chosen for this, especially this time period. It just doesn't seem to fit, and it took me a while to realize those were knees. But this is Anna Karenina. A friend of mine shared recently an article kind of comparing this with different viewpoints of Christianity, and I'm really intrigued. This thing is massive. I do think in this one there are some like essays in here, so that'll be interesting. But this is one that like I've been interested in. I just don't know if I would ever pick it up. And then after reading that article, I was like, okay, I'll pick it up and read it. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. And then these are 2 books that I had asked my local bookstore to order for me to kind of help support them. And they're ones that my kids and I are going to work through. So this is the Teen's Guide to Social Media and Mobile Devices, 21 Tips to Wise Posting in an Insecure World. And then doing it with them, I'm doing 12 Ways Your Phone is Changing You. And so this one's by Tony Rank. I'm assuming that's Rank. And so we're going to do this together. I need to just kind of get on pre-read. As you can see, I have a ton of reading to do. And so little time, it seems like these days. And then the last 3 books, I saw these covers for Jen Karen's Father Tim series. There's only 3, but I think I want to start collecting this edition of the Father Tim at home in Mitford. So many people I have recommended this, and then on top of that, so many other people are picking it up and reading it, and I just kind of want another reread. So Father Tim it's not a fast moving series at all. So you're not looking at something like Father Brown. Father Tim, you're just kind of going through a small town and getting different stories, kind of like a James Harriet in a way, and some of the humor and some of the things going on. There really isn't like this main plot going through it that kind of keeps you on suspense each story. From what I can remember, it's been probably 10 years since I've read this. But again, it's just been one that I've been wanting to pick up and read again. So again, I found the first 3 with these really nice covers and a bigger like print and book. So I'm really excited about these, and I'll have to try to keep my eye out for more. These were also at my local bookstore, so maybe somebody will bring in the other ones. Anyway, looking forward to reading these. And so those are pretty much the books that I picked up in this last few months. The stack behind me looks pretty tall. However, most of these were purchased at that local bookstore on credit, because I had brought 3 or 4 grocery bags full of books to basically kind of exchange for credit. So that was pretty cool. And then, I have some books that my sister gave me and some that I picked up at a thrift store. Like this, the stack looks pretty large to me, but they're ones that, except for I think for those middle grade ones, they're ones that I had plans to purchase regardless. So they weren't necessarily impulse buys based on a book cover or just standing around looking for something to read. You know how sometimes you do that. So I'm really, really pleased at the progress I have made in this book journey, and definitely ones here that will take a lot longer to read than others. I don't even know how I want to tackle Anna Karenina. I don't know. If y'all have tips for me on that one, throw it out there. Some of these I have already began, and some I have plans to read this month, and some that I like to keep on hand for I need to decompress, get something lighthearted and wonderful going, just because, as you can see, a lot of times I read some heavy things and then a lot of things happen in the world and you just need to just take a break. Like a book is also escape. It's to educate, but it's also to escape in my opinion. So, well, until next time, thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up. That kind of tells me that these are the kind of content to keep putting out there. I don't know when the next one will be. We'll just have to wait and see. But until then, have another cup of coffee and read another chapter.